Good morning, Malcolm.
Good morning, Steffi and Carlos.
Happy-
Hey.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. I've missed you so.
Oh, well, it's a new year. Let's just put it that way.
Can I just say, you got me a late Christmas present, but the best one. Yesterday you tweeted, we can openly start using the word treason now.
Oh, thank God.
You say in the legal sense of the word, aiding and abetting an enemy in wartime. You were referring to the White House official floated withdrawing U.S. forces to please Putin. I mean, this is just the latest example, right?
You know, up until this point, what we were seeing is a lot of nefarious activity that appeared to be individuals who were enriching themselves, individuals who were working, using their government positions for positions of power, facilitating whatever bad things that they had done with Moscow in the past. But what we hadn't seen up until this point is a very clear trade-off where Moscow was going to get something which was completely and totally out of parameters for the United States defense establishment when Donald Trump came into office. And so this Michael Flynn acolyte, who was deputy director, I think a director of planning, to propose withdrawing U.S. forces from Eastern Europe to appease Vladimir Putin, we're going to find out that this was not something he just thunk up on his own.
Right.
Someone had to have directed him to look into this. And this is where we can actually draw a straight line between the entire Trump-Russia scandal, or we're going to, let's call it a dotted line, between the Trump-Russia scandal and tangible evidence that these people were working for Moscow. There is no one in the defense establishment who would ever consider that outside of a rudimentary study, as opposed to let's go look for ways to do this and essentially pay Putin off.
Yeah. I mean, it's stunning. It's all stunning lately, isn't it? I know you're seldom surprised by anything, but how about this Dianne Feinstein releasing the Fusion GPS thing? I mean, this is huge.
Well, what the most significant portion of it, as a matter of fact, I was printing out all 300 some odd pages, and I've only got to about page 60. But what's amazing is it appears that the Senate has decided to go the way of the House. The Senate Intelligence Committee has decided to hitch their wagon directly to Donald Trump and to use that committee for partisan purposes to stop the investigations into Donald Trump. This is utterly amazing. Yeah. I mean, I expect that stuff from the House, but for Grassley and Lindsey Graham to come out and do it, well, Lindsey Graham, there's got to be something that people want to, compromising information that they have. For him to flip 180 degrees in a matter of weeks, especially after the losses in Alabama, for them to come out and say, okay, now we're going to investigate the guy, one of the people that tipped us off. Next thing you know, they're going to want to investigate the Australian diplomat who talked to Papadopoulos. This is insane.
Yeah. These are our allies. I mean, this is the part of the testimony I'm reading. Chris said he was very concerned about whether this represented a national security threat, and said thought he was obligated to tell someone in the government, in our government, about this information. Simpson said he thought his perspective was there was an issue, a security issue, about whether a presidential candidate was being blackmailed. Here is our ally. Right. I mean, you're right. It is almost hard to get your mind around. Except the fact they want Fox News to be able to say he's under investigation, right?
Well, absolutely right. But, they're trying to discredit that. But as we see, we find out that he was not the primary source. Right. And to be quite honest, based on the reporting we've seen from the last year, I'm sticking with my assessment that I gave in my book, Plot to Hack America, which came out, 2 months before, or a month before the Steele memo was known.
Yeah.
And which, mine was an analysis. It was a projection. These things had to exist for these other things to be appearing in the news media, right? So one of the things that had to exist was a form of intelligence collection against U.S. citizens who were actively involved in these things. And we know that now Steele was one of them, but not the primary. The Papadopoulos discussion with the Australian diplomat was another. But there is still out there 2 reports that GCHQ in the UK and a foreign intelligence agency had some form of special intelligence collection, which is what we call the stuff you get from NSA, which was and may be wholly independent from all of this. So you may have multiple sources that led to those first FISA warrants to be drawn back in June 2016. And what we may find is that they were all wholly independent of each other, just like, Comey said when he had his discussion with Donald Trump, that they had corroborated this information from multiple intelligence sources, not one.
Right. Right. I mean, that's why it was so credible. I mean, this has sort of blown the lid off all of these talking points from Trump, the White House, and Republicans, right? I mean, this is really, I mean, God bless Dianne Feinstein. I mean, she said yesterday, the innuendo and misinformation circulating about the transcript are part of a deeply troubling effort to undermine the investigation into potential collusion and obstruction of justice. The only way to set the record straight is to make the transcript public. I mean, not to mention that if you have nothing to hide, you're not afraid of something becoming public, right?
Right. And, I'm a relatively calm guy, especially when I play one on TV. But just the things that we've been seeing revealed in the last week, just this massive, like I said, now the Senate is part of that effort. And I believe they were saying that the Senate is doing one investigation, Senate Republicans, and the Senate Democrats are carrying out the other investigation that was going along pretty well till Grassley and Graham stepped in the middle of this. And they're on a completely different committee and are trying to discredit this whole thing. And then you get this information about this guy, the White House wanting to give Putin what Moscow has always wanted, all right, which is to push NATO back to the border of Germany. That just flips all defense policy that we've had since World War II on its head.
Yep.
And the only thing that I can say about that is anyone in the intelligence or defense community who saw that report yesterday, only one word pops into your head, and that's the T word. Now what we're going to have to find out is, do we also have the entirety of one political party in America has decided they will obstruct justice using every tool that was put in place to ensure that none of this happens? So, is the Republican Party, have the Republicans decided they want a one-party government?
Yeah.
And that they are more than willing to do whatever it takes to break this system. And it appears they are on track to do that. That's loyalty to a man, not to the Constitution. And the framers of the Constitution saw that. And as Joe Scarborough wrote in an op-ed, that this system was not designed to run with people betraying the Constitution. It relied on the House and the Senate and the judiciary to be able to stop a tyrant.
Right.
Maybe we don't have a tyrant. Maybe we just got a dictator in waiting. But this is just amazing to me that they've just decided that America doesn't need to be a democratic republic anymore. Maybe we should just become, the Politburo. Maybe we should just become, a Putin-like anarchic state or autocratic state.
All of it, even that's happened over the holiday break, right? That, Sessions was trying to get dirt on Comey, and, what do you call it? The White House lawyer was pressuring Sessions not to recuse himself. I mean, every single bombshell, is worse than the last, isn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But, those efforts we expected, starting with Devin Nunes, starting with, the low-grade congressmen like Jim Jordan, these people to come out and start yipping around there. Now what we have is it's permeated into the Senate, and this is dangerous because it just means that we are losing all safeguards. And to be honest, there's only one way to stop this train, because they're going to take their shot at Mueller. They're going to take their shot at Rosenstein before the election. They have to.
Right.
And the only way to stop it is that people are going to have to show up on Election Day with a person who didn't vote in the last election, +1. And this election needs to be a presidential-level election, all right?
Well, obviously, they're starting to call for Sessions to step down. Obviously, there are some calls for that from Republicans. So, but you're right. That's trying to set the stage to get rid of Mueller, right?
Sure, and they need, if Sessions steps down or if the president makes it pretty clear that he needs to go, then they can appoint someone who doesn't have to recuse himself. Someone who can step right in and say, I have nothing to do with Trump, Russia, like Mike, I don't want to project too. And that person can step in and say, well, I'm just going to cancel this. I'm in charge of it now. I don't see anything here. This is all, the investigation is over. And at that point, well, we're talking about the government splitting in half. Because every bit of that information will drop off a truck, off a pallet in front of the New York Times and the Washington Post, and everything will be out in the open, and we'll have to see whether these people have decided that the Constitution of the United States is not what is here to be protected, that they're protecting a man. And this drives me absolutely crazy. I dedicated my whole life keeping this country safe, but I never thought we would have a cult of personality where one man is the loyalty test, not, our oaths as we swore to the Constitution.
Yeah. Please tell me they're not going to get away with this, Uncle Malcolm.
They're not going to get away with this. I mean, it can only get worse. If they think that the Fire and Fury book is bad, if they think that testimony is bad, okay, just imagine if, I've said this from the very beginning. There are other countries who have intelligence that have a stake in this story.
Yep.
So if Estonia decides the United States has lost their mind and the audio transcripts, not the transcripts, if the actual tapes suddenly fall into the hand of, a newspaper like, Berlin Zeitung or something like that, then you have a situation where information will be coming in that has nothing to do with the Mueller investigation, where our other countries may need to defend themselves by releasing what they know.
Yeah.
I'm still on par for March.
Yeah.
I still think by the end of March,
what happens with the
information will come out.
All right. What happens with the Trump Mueller interview, do you think?
Oh God. Well, the White House lawyers are desperately scrambling to ensure that never happens. They want him to send in written questions and get written answers. Donald Trump, high comedy, go watch on YouTube Donald Trump's previous deposition. My favorite part is where he refuses to read a sentence. Clearly his father told him, that never read in public or never read at all. He does not do well at these depositions.
Yeah.
He just gives up the ghost after a while and admits everything.
Yeah.
Because his ego cannot take it. He is a narcissistic personality disorder, with malevolent tendencies. And when you confront him, he wants to throw it in your face. And his default position is, hell yeah, I did it.
Yeah, you're damn right I ordered the code red, right?
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Tip of the hat to our friend Rob Reiner.
Yes, there you go. Thank God, Rob Reiner.
All right. Writing March down on my paper calendar. Love you, Malcolm. Talk to you next week, sir.
See you in Hollywood soon.
Oh, good. All right. See you soon. There he goes, Malcolm Nance. He's a little teasy little minx, isn't he? He just drops that.